Hey everyone, in this video we are going to continue with our assignment. Now, the thing that we did in our last video was we came in and we made sure we did a file save as to make sure our name does not say untitled right now because we downloaded an Adobe Illustrator, an Adobe Illustrator template file versus an Adobe Illustrator file. And that allows us to name it, and that also creates an Adobe Illustrator file from that template. Might be a little confusing, but now it's right. Now, with that being said, what we want to do in this portion is I want to first of all just remind you about some simple navigation things. So the Alt key, if we push it down, which is to the left and right of your space bar, if we use the scroll wheel, we can scroll in and we can scroll out. One thing that's kind of nice is always kind of scrolling in so we can see where we're clicking and making sure we're clicking accurately versus clicking on the wrong things. So zooming in is your friend. At the same time, another thing that's kind of nice for navigation is pushing that scroll wheel down, which allows you to pan. So you can click that or push it down, and then you can drag it right and left, and it will move wherever you want it to on your screen. Those two little tricks will make this a lot less frustrating. Now, what we're doing here is we are trying to edit these designs. The first thing we're going to do is we want to have a design that says our name. That's how I know whose pencil I'm engraving is your name being on there. And then some symbols, simply like an emoji or just using the symbols that are on your keyboard to make faces or whatever it may be. And then the second thing we're going to do is have a name, and if you have a short inspirational quote or if you're a fan of something, like I have Bear down here because I'm a Chicago Bear fan. Please don't hold it against me. We'll do that also. So we'll get two different pencils in this assignment made this assignment, but our next assignment from the things we're doing now. Now, the next thing we're going to do is type out the type tool. The type tool is over here on the left-hand side in our toolbar. If we hover over top, you'll see that it says type. It kind of gives you an idea about what goes on that way. At the same time, it is also the shortcut is the letter T on your keyboard. So if we come over and click, we are now in the type tool. I have some previously made type or text boxes down here. You can tell that you're hovering over them because they highlight if you see a little line come in. What we can do to edit these is click in after we make that highlight. So if I click on that, now I'm actually in that previous text box. Later on, I'll show us how to make our own text box because that happens every once in a while that we need to make one. And I'll also show us how to delete things if we misclick too. Now, the next thing we can do is once we're in our text boxes, we can click and drag over our text from left to right or right to left to highlight. And then we can just type. So I'm going to have my name first, which is going to be your name. And then the symbols I'm going to use is just a little standard one that we've used 1,000 times, where we have that, well, equals, or a colon, and a end parenthesis. Just making a smiley face. Now, a way that I kind of like to look through different texts is after I type, I like to go through and click and drag once again to highlight, then slide down to where the drop down arrow is, select it, and slide up to the top or scroll up to the top. And that way I can just start from the top of the list and kind of look down and find a font that I really enjoy. You can see that we have some that's like bolded, some that's more italicized, some looks like print, some looks like cursive. There's a whole bunch of different ideas. Once I find the one I like, I can just select it and then click out. The next thing I'd like to mention is what happens if I misclick, if I missed clicking on my line and end up making a new text box. So I'm just going to do that to show you what we can do. If I click, a lot of times we get this thing that says lorem ipsum, which I think in Latin means nothing. At the same time, meaning empty text box, if we get that to happen, we can use our selection tool to select and then use the delete key on our keyboard just to get rid of that. If you by chance deleted your text box that you were supposed to have there, you can also create a new one by using your type tool just to come in and click the document and then type because it's already highlighted to start that same process over again. I'm just going to get out of that by going to my selection tool and then deleting that. But it might happen to you. just trying to help. Now, the next thing I'd like to explain here is going into my second text box. I'm using my type tool once again to hover over my pre-created text box, select in when I'm making the little blue line show up. Once again, when I'm in, I like to click and drag over top to have this all become highlighted when I click and drag to the right or left. And then I can edit by just typing. Once again, your name is how we started out. And then this one is going to be all about an inspirational quote or a fan club. I am a bear fan, so I'm going to do the same thing I just did there. I'm going to go bear down. Not being very creative, but just kind of showing you the process. Now, one thing that we can do here that's a little different is after we click and go through and highlight and find the font that we want to do, we can space off to the edge here, and I'm going to show you a place to find emojis in the type tool. So in here, if I click in to my font family below with the slider, the arrow, and I slide up, I'm looking for a thing called Emoji 1. Emoji 1 is found towards the top right here. These two pieces, Emoji 1 and the To-Go UI emoji, are more symbols or emojis than they are actual text. If I click into this, what's going to happen is I'm going to get this little glyphs panel to appear, and you can click and drag it to move it around. You can also go to the corners and click to make it bigger so we can see more than one emoji at a time. And the next thing is we can go through here and find things that are going to work in our design. There's a lot of different emojis to look through. I'm going to look for one that looks like a little bear. At the same time, I'm getting towards the animals right here, and I found one. If I double click this, it is going to add it. At the same time, I can add as many emojis as I would like to. The thing I will talk about is, really quick here, our laser engraver works by two different colors. Black turns the laser on, white turns the laser off. For these colored pieces, it reads it in grayscale. So the darker the tone of the color or the hue is, the more it's going to show up as black. The lighter it is, the more it's going to show up as like a light gray or a white. And once again, black turns the laser on, white turns the laser off. So the black and white images work best, but it's okay to explore here and well, experiment, because that way we can find out how the laser works. At the same time, make sure we go through and explore many font families. Make sure we go through and explore all the different symbols that we can find, because we're going to be doing many different projects here besides the pencils. In our next one, project 2, we're actually going to be able to make a few of them. And we'd like to have as many ideas as possible that we already know, so we don't have to take the time to explore them. Now, with that being said, edit these text boxes to get them ready for your pencils. I hope everybody is doing okay. Remember to ask teachers for help if we're not getting things to work in the first 3 tries. It is okay to make mistakes and edit undo. Oh, did I talk about edit undo yet? Oh, edit undo is another fantastic piece. Edit undo is on top right here. It's also a Control-Z shortcut. With that being said, have a great day. Thanks for watching.